welcome. Welcome, everybody. How are you doing today? I hope that everybody is doing really well. Many states are reopening by now, so I'm sure you are enjoying this moment of more freedom to move and to do things. And we also have all these significant demonstrations going on right now. So much change happening, and I want to speak a little bit more about the current events as they are making racism and discrimination towards others so much more visible for us all. So that fear of other or others, that discrimination towards others, racism, that is not new. We all know that. It has been here for a very long time. And yet for most of us, or for many of us, that impulse to discriminate, or that impulse to judge, or that impulse to be afraid of the other still remains unconscious. And this is why the events right now are so significant. They are significant because it looks like both individually and collectively we have reached a place in which we want to address this, in which we want to become more present to it, and in which hopefully there's finally a space for a deeper change. So when I first moved to the US from Europe, I was not so much aware of racism, and in particularly not so much aware of the specific form that racism takes form here in the US. Of course, I was aware of discrimination, and that is not to say that Europe is not racist. It's just that the very specific and deep wound that is connected to racism and discrimination is in a certain way unique to the US. And yet, in very similar forms, it is happening in so many places around the world. And as much as we all like to believe that we are not racist, that we don't discriminate towards others, which that discrimination towards others is really the fear of the unknown, right? Fear of what we don't know, of what we are not sure what it is, right? That's the fear, that is the fear of the unknown. And yet that bias, that discrimination arises in all of us in ways big and small. And so our opportunity right now is to become more aware of it, is to really become aware of it, and to become aware of the opportunity that it presents. Because it presents an opportunity to see it, it presents an opportunity to meet it, and it really is an invitation to peace. It's an invitation to deeper inquiry. It's an invitation to awakening, embodiment, and to freedom. So when terrorism became more associated with Muslims, I'm sure you remember a while back, I remember that when I met some Muslim people here in Santa Fe, that moment of hesitation arose within me, that, fear of the unknown, right? And luckily, of course, there was awareness of it and willingness to be present to it. The same right now with the coronavirus, as it was so strongly associated with China. I remember meeting some Asian people here in Santa Fe. And again, that moment of hesitation, that moment of, fear of the unknown, right? And again, the luckily there is an ability to notice that and the willingness to be present to it. And I'm sharing this because it's so important for us to realize that the fear of other, which is almost genetic or almost physiological, should I say, in the human evolution, of course, there was this time, when the other human arrived, and when there was simply that fear of survival, which is what it touches within us, right? So that we not only have the opportunity to meet it, but we also have the opportunity to speak against it as we see it happen, or as we see it happening around us. And I also remember, many, many, many years ago already here, when the police brutality and killing of unarmed Black men became so much more of a topic of conversation, and the conversation of the unconscious bias, is there the unconscious bias? And I looked within, and what I saw was that when slaves escaped their owners, they will be hunted. They will be hunted and killed or brought back to their owners. And that movement is still, that notion is still present in the unconscious. And also just a few words about violence, because some of the violence that has been happening over the past several days, of course, some of it is opportunistic. There are always people or groups that are interested just in the violence for the sake of violence. However, we also know that when a very painful place gets touched within, like a painful past gets touched within, that we also often respond with reactivity, or that we respond with some form of violence towards ourselves or towards others. That we don't always also have this very measured and conscious and peaceful response, especially at first. It's really, really good to remember that. So I want to invite us all into an inquiry today, an inquiry in which we want to look at a situation where you experienced discrimination or bias or racism towards others, or a situation where you were discriminated against, because of course we also experience that. And so, as always with inquiry, we just want to begin by sitting here quietly for a moment. Keeping your eyes open if possible. And we want to begin by describing the situation. Maybe you remember a current or a little while ago situation where you experienced that fear of the unknown, the fear of the other skin color, different speech or different behavior or different hair, different, right? So just take a moment to speak about that here for a moment. Or maybe when you were discriminated against. And as that sharing, that speaking slows down, then let's take a moment and notice the sensations that are present in your body. And as you become aware of these sensations, remember we have all these different ways to help the nervous system and brain to be here, like keeping your eyes open, like looking around a little bit, like maybe noticing the weight of your body, or maybe your feet on the ground. And you want to ask yourself a question here. You want to ask yourself the question of inquiry that is really not a question that you want to pose to your mind, but a question that you want to drop within, and you want to really look for an answer that arises within. And the question is, right now in this moment, the sensations that you experience here, are these sensations okay? And I'm not speaking about the situation. I'm not speaking, or we are not speaking about a moment ago, or we are not speaking about the future. But right now in this moment, as you are sitting here, are these sensations okay? And there are really only two answers here. Yes, they are okay. Or no, they are not okay, and they are equally good, equally important. This is just a, curiosity, right? Where are we at? And I always say anything that is not a yes is a no. So take a moment. And if the answer is yes, then just stay present to the sensations here. And if the answer is no, identify that no as a sensation in your body. So it's not just a thought, it's not just an idea, but notice it as a sensation in your body. And then stay present to that. And as we are sitting here and have the willingness to meet what arises, and remember, you have all these different ways to resource if necessary, if there's a lot going on the level of sensation. But eventually, there is a change or there is a shift in your experience. And when that shift happens, that's the movement away from the past into the present. And that can manifest as relaxation, that can manifest as peace, that can manifest as change in perception as you are sitting. And when that happens, just notice that. We are not trying for it, we are not manufacturing it, we are just noticing it as it happens. Because ultimately, that is what we are interested in, right? Ultimately, what we want is to know peace, awakening, embodiment, freedom. But we want to know it not by denying what is, not by rejecting what is, because that's not possible, right? But by allowing what actually arises here, by becoming aware of it. That's the opportunity. Let's become aware of it. Let's become aware of it more and more and more as it arises here. And then let's be present to it so that we can really find together this deeper place of rest, awakening, and peace. And I want to encourage you to really sit more deeply in this kind of inquiry, always, of course, but especially now.